where the elements are proved, courts are not reluctant to admit declarations of one conspirator as evidence against another. And then it has the, several federal courts apply a liberal standard in determining whether a statement is made in furtherance of a conspiracy, including our 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's United States versus Steigman. It's SIEGELMAN, and that's 6-4. I'm sorry, wrong citation. I apologize. No, that's the same. It is Siegelman, and it's 640 F 3rd 1159 11th Circuit 2011. And then statements which advance the objects of the conspiracy fall within the rule. And this has been held to even include statements of if uttered by an outsider, if the statement is designed to help the co-conspirators achieve their goal. So part of what we've been discussing, or that has been objected to very vehemently on behalf of the defendants, but the court wanted you all to acknowledge, the court wanted to acknowledge this, that at this point in time, this court is of the opinion that I'm sure over your objections that the state has in fact proved that there is a conspiracy by preponderance of the evidence at this point in time, and whether or not the jury believes that is another thing. At this point in time, this court is of the opinion that I'm sure over your objections that the state has in fact proved that there is a conspiracy by preponderance of the evidence at this point in time, and whether or not the jury believes that is another thing. But for the purposes of these statements, and I'll take them on an individual basis, of course, but those would be relative to what the court's considering this afternoon. So assuming that there's a foundation, which the court will continue to look at, and assuming that depending upon what the state's offering the statement for, whether or not it's a statement against interest or a co-conspirator statement, I just wanted you all to know that that's where the court has studied and considered this particular issue, but we have taken it up about 3 or 4 times. And I just wanted to kind of make sure that you understood that I understand where you all are, but understand that that's what the court's basing its ruling on. Mr. Steele, you want to add anything? Because we've covered your Mr. Winfrey's jail calls already, but
of course,
what else you want to add?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Everyone. 2 things. I know I don't represent Mr. Huey or Mr. Nichols, but I presume that the state hasn't come close. This is how I look at it, to proving any type of conspiracy with them, but you included everyone. So I'm going to make the argument for everyone, but I just wanted to say that in paragraph 51 of motion in limine number 51, paragraph number 4, excuse me.
Without waiving objection?
One more time.
Without waiving any objection, I'm looking at it right now. I have a copy of it.
Yes, sir. So what happens in those 2 minutes and 37 seconds of that call, October 22, 2015, it's not been played yet. State put us on notice of it, and I've objected to it on Friday when I got the state's 7 calls. This is not, so I don't know who the speaker is. So the speaker is clearly speaking with a person identified on the call as Mr. Winfrey. Mr. Winfrey's in custody, that's why the call's recorded.
Mm-hmm.
The unknown speaker says, pursuant to another unknown person, Mr. Winfrey will receive a Porsche vehicle when he is released from custody. That's what I've objected to. So as you say, I don't disagree with anything the court said about the test. The declarant is not on the call. The declarant is an unknown person. The person on the call is unknown. So I don't know how that is a co-conspirator statement of a third party. It's double hearsay. That's what I wanted to bring to your attention in
Okay.
motion limit number 5-1.
I'll let the state respond to that.
Thank you, sir.
Because we did cover Cantwell a couple days ago in regards to non-party statements are admissible, and that was at 64 F 4th 396 in terms of these other parties or unknown parties that are speaking to provide context. So I understand that you're asking it's considered
Well,
hearsay.
if you go, oh my
I've
goodness,
considered that, but this would be an exception to that.
Judge, let
And
the state
context
respond.
is always like if the Honorable Mr. Matthews said to me, how much money do I bring to the drug deal? And my response was, bring $500. My response would make no sense unless Mr. Matthews
Sure.
is not involved in the conspiracy, he's working with the government or whatever.
Understand.
That would make sense. But here it is the person on the recording saying that another person, I don't know who these people are, Your Honor. Another person said that there'll be a Porsche vehicle given to Mr. Winfrey. So the context is really not anything here. The substance of the statement comes from a double hearsay declarant. That was why I brought it to your attention.
Okay.
Understanding, and honoring, but not waiving. That's why.
Yeah, I understand, because you're saying it's hearsay, and then the state's saying, well, it's not. It's an exception to that being its
They might say
co-conspiracy.
that, but we'd
Yeah,
like you
but
to
that-
decide it.
I'm sorry.
We'd like you to decide it.
Yes. Okay. All right. State.
And I think, okay,
Thank you, Your Honor.
here we go.
Your Honor, consistent with what the court just spoke about regarding the law co-conspirator, this particular statement is furthering.
Which one? Be specific. Which one are you talking
The
about?
statement
Winfrey
that-
phone calls,
the
or
Winfrey phone
or the Instagram.
No, we'll talk about the Winfrey phone calls first, Your Honor.
Okay,
The
all right.
Winfrey call, which is this call that's about 2 minutes, in which the unidentified declarant is an unidentified co-conspirator, because in that statement, what the declarant says is, we'll sit down for $250,000 in a Porsche. And Mr. Winfrey doesn't say no. He doesn't say anything. He says, okay, that's my boy. That's my boy. My boy ain't never changed. And so, Your Honor, that statement is furthering the conspiracy as far as concealing what occurred in the conspiracy, which is we will sit down, we will be quiet, we will not say anything for this amount of money. Now, whether or not that happened or not, whether or not he got paid, whether or not he got the Porsche is of no consequence. But this conversation here shows that there's a covering up of the conspiracy. That conspiracy,
Man, that could all be
the
capped.
gang, and conspiracy 2 being the actual shooting of the bus, Your Honor. And so we believe that this will fall under the co-conspirator hearsay exception.
Are you going to identify the speakers on the call?
We'll identify Mr. Winfrey. I believe this, the person he's speaking to is Shad, who is mentioned in other calls as well.
All right. Okay.
But that's the only identifier that we know, and then is Shad.
All right. Sir, Mr. Harvey.
Speak in the mic, sir.
I want to make sure we're making the appropriate distinctions here with regard to, and I understand the court's ruling, but I want to make sure that I get on record what I think are critical distinctions. Let's go back to when the court said, state, give us all your 801 D2E statements that you're going to use during the trial so that we can take these issues up now and not during the trial, just like we're doing. So number one, I do want to say that these alleged 801 D2E, and I'm not agreeing that they are, statements that are now being proffered were not provided to us, and we didn't have an opportunity to litigate them pre-trial. And now we're doing exactly what the court didn't want us to do, number one. Number two, we're also talking about a confrontation clause problem, because we have, for example, the pleas of guilty admissions by co-defendants that are coming in that we cannot cross-examine. For example, precisely the ones that we are talking about now. Mr. Murphy, we know that beyond the hearsay argument, Judge, there is a confrontation clause argument.
Have you taken a look at U.S. versus Thompson? That is, that is 568 F APPX 812 11th Circuit 2014. And it talks about the right of a defendant to confront accusers. Thompson seems to indicate no, but I understand your point. I understand your point. I do.
But there's an 801 D2E right of confrontation. There's an admission of a co-conspirator, an admission of theirs, or a confession of theirs that we can't confront that presents a different problem, like a plea of guilty. We argued that with regard to Jefferson, and I think Jefferson versus the state is clear. So I want to make the distinction, state versus Jefferson. And I want to make the distinction because it comes in under a hearsay exception does not resolve the confrontation issue. And Mr. Nichols does not waive that confrontation issue, even if you find that it's a
But 801
co-conspirator statement.
D2E statements are not considered to be hearsay. They are, they're not.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to clarify. That's all.
I understand
Okay.
that.
All right.
And I want to make the distinction that because it comes in, there is a class of evidence that comes in under 801 D2E. There's a class of evidence that comes in as admissions of party opponents. Those are subject to the confrontation clause, and we need to make that distinction.
Okay, and when I charge the jury, when I get down to that, yes, that will be a jury charge that I will probably need to hash out. But at this point in time, they're admissible for, for as a threshold matter, and the jury can weigh them as they see fit.
Okay, well, admissions, I don't think are admissible at this particular point against Mr. Nichols.
Okay, but that's your
Yes,
that,
and I
that-
want
that-
to
that's
make
your-
sure that
that is your position at this point in time, and that
That's-
has not
that's right.
changed. And I certainly acknowledge that, sir, and will continue to mark that objection for you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all right. Unless there's anything else, I'm gonna call for our jurors. Okay.
No, I was gonna say, you're right. In relation to the hearsay statements on the Instagram records, Your Honor, the state did redact any of the commentary that was on the bottom. We did keep what we believe Mr. Williams would have posted himself because it's his Instagram, but the commentary that's on below that, we did redact, and I can show that to Mr. Steele prior to
All right.
that being, and I can show it to him now.
Do you want to show it to him now then?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Sir.
did you rule upon paragraph 4 of Mr. Williams' motion limiting number 51? What I just argued about the portion?
I'm going to overrule your objection, sir.
As never continuing?
Yes, you may have a continuing objection. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, you want to take a look at these Instagram postings?
So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, shout out to Damon Torres in the building. I had to keep him up there. He's a very respectable legend in the game of hip hop. Respectable legend. That's all I can say. He's a legend. And when a legend comes in the building, we acknowledge our legends. So what I just shared with you guys is the 801 2D federal rule of confrontation. So you guys, when you hear the lawyers speak up about certain citations and certain evidentiary issues, I'll post some references so you guys can understand why the lawyers are arguing a certain law, so you can do your own research. But yeah, we tend to, do our own research to see if it's in line with what the ruling is, and if not, maybe we can expand on it with our legal experts that come on the show. With that said, everyone, the jury will be brought in shortly. Miss Hilson, the district
Ms.
attorney,
Hilton, anything else, madam?
Miss Hilton, they're
Okay.
watching. Okay, here, let's get
Anything else, folks?
the witness in, and let's
All
get the
right.
jury. Get the witness.
Deputy Ham, can you summon our jurors for us, please? All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, can we bring in our witness too, please?
See, I told you. I told you they don't listen to me. They don't listen to me. I said, bring the witness in first.
Where are you going, man? Where are you going?
I mean, the dog is going crazy. The dog's moving around. He can't go too far. Can't go too far. I want to share a funny story before the jury actually sits down. So in the very beginning of this trial, there was a certain blogger who said, "There's a dog in the courtroom." I said, "There's no dog in the courtroom. There's a dog in there. It's a dog in the courtroom." I said, "There's no dog in the courtroom." And I seen it. I seen it. I said, "It's no dog in the courtroom. You seeing things?" Sure enough, there was a dog in the courtroom. I'll give them that credit. They were right about the dog in the courtroom. I don't know why people were denying that there was a dog in the courtroom. It was the judge's dog. I'm saying, why would the judge bring a dog in the courtroom? But we know why the judge brought his dog in the courtroom. It's but yeah, the dog has been pretty good. We haven't heard him. I don't think I heard him barks yet. Maybe it might have barked one time, but the dog definitely is in the courtroom. Jury's coming in right now. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, we will be doing live commentary throughout this trial today, and we'll be bringing in some guests. With that said, I want to get Carolyn back on at some point because she will provide a perspective that some have not heard yet. So she'll be one of my guests for today. I don't know. I don't know what kind of dog it is. It's a dog with a bell on it. I know that. The dog has the bell on it. There may be a reason for that. I don't know.
Deputy Ham, all our jurors present, sir? All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, the judge has the dog in the courtroom.
Ladies and gentlemen, jury, good afternoon. All right, Agent Racy, you're still under oath, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. You may continue your examination when ready, madam.
Good afternoon, Agent Racy. How are you?
Good afternoon. Doing well.
Okay. I think we're trying to make sure we have access to the Zoom. I'm gonna go back to something we talked about yesterday. The vehicle,
Say again, sir?
I want to go back into something we talked about yesterday. The white Camaro, what type of, I don't know what the proper term, the transmission was it?
It was a stick shift or manual.
And did you observe that when you searched the car?
Yes,
And are we ready? And once we get ready, we're going to start with the call that was on October 22nd. Snyden. Well, while we're waiting for that, let me do this. You mind permission to approach? Oh,
You may.
excerpts from the record. No, so I started with this page, so. Asian race, I'm gonna show you what's been first marked as State's Exhibit 134C. Tell me if you recognize State's Exhibit 134, Echo Charlie.
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize State's Exhibit 130? How do you recognize State's Exhibit 134 Echo Charlie?
So this is going to be AT&T records for the cell phone or the phone number 404-583-1990. So this is the response from the provider from our search warrant.
And is that just 4 pages of an excerpt from the full response?
That looks like 8 pages.
Okay,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
what are the page numbers of the excerpt?
It looks like 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and 1009.
Okay. And does that appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of an excerpt of the return for that phone number that you received back in 2015?
It does.
You're right. This time the state would like to send the State's Exhibit 134 Echo Charlie.
Any further objection to State's 134 Echo Charlie?
I don't have an objection. I'd like the entire record for the return, but I don't object to the state using those numbers. But I think it should come in as a whole, and then parties can use section.
You're right. I have a response. The entire record is in. We introduced the entire record yesterday.
Then I don't have it.
All right, State's one. Anybody else? Do you have a separate objection, sir? Okay. A microphone, sir.
As far as I understand, these are records of a non-co-conspirator and someone that has not been identified as a uncharged co-conspirator, and therefore I certainly would object to them being admitted against Mr. Nichols.
All right, your objection is noted for the record. All right. And overruled. All right, I'm going to admit 134 Echo.
Okay. Next, we have State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie. Take a look at State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie and tell me if you recognize State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie.
Yes.
And how do you recognize Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie?
So this is going to be an excerpt, it looks like, out of the Sprint response for a cell phone number, or presumably a cell phone number of 504-319-2920.
And does that appear to be a fair and accurate printout of portions of that record that was introduced yesterday?
Yes.
And what are the pages of this excerpt?
It looks like 170, 171, 172, 173, 174, 175, 176, 177, 178, 179, 180, and 181. So 170 through 181.
Your Honor, this time to say we're like the,
I'm sorry, there's another one there, 182. So correct myself, 182.
Your Honor, this time to say we'd like to tender State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie into evidence.
Any further objections to State's 135 Echo Charlie? Same, continuing objection noted, sir.
No, sir. And I heard District Attorney the entire return is in, and then I don't have an objection to report.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
And then last, State's Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie. If you can take a moment and flip through State's Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie.
Okay,
And do you recognize State's Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie?
I do.
And how do you recognize State's Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie?
So this is going to be an excerpt from, ultimately it's AT&T, but it's a Cricket cell phone that AT&T is the larger company of. And it's for target number 678-815-5790.
And does that appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of the excerpt of the full return that you received back in 2015?
Yes,
And is that the same return that we entered into evidence yesterday?
it appears to be so.
And what are the pages of this excerpt?
411, 412, 413, and 414.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender State's Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie into evidence.
Any further objection, counsels?
No, I heard the same, I understand it's the same way, so no.
All right, okay. It's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, looking at the screen, what is the date of this call?
October 22nd, 2015.
And we can go ahead and publish.
This is a Global Tel Link prepaid call from an inmate at the Cobb County Adult Detention Facility. This call will be recorded and monitored. Your ITS account balance is $29.69. If you have questions or complaints about this call, please call customer service at 1-800-0193. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. This is a Global Tel Link prepaid call from your ITS account balance is $29.69. Complaints about this call, please call customer service at 1-800-231-0193. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call,
Yo,
Dion went out like radio. Hello.
yeah.
Yeah. What's y'all at?
Hold on, I'm finna call him back.
What are you talking about, y'all?
You gonna have a Porsche.
Yeah, tell me to give it to you.
Nah, he told me you do that. You know you gonna do that, man.
Yeah, he ain't man.
You don't get your report, no.
You ain't got no choice. Hey, man, like the one Bobby said, you better guard your crib.
We sit down for several months for a portion in the core meeting.
Hey, come on. Hey, my brain changed now. Hey, Sophia. Hey, man.
Something like that. It's a fan, how you need to get out.
Huh? Hey, come on. Call.
Now, do you remember what time that call was on October 22nd?
It was 21:33, so 9:33 at night.
And was this call made on Mr. Winfrey's pen?
No, it was not.
How were you able to find this call?
By doing basically kind of like a reverse search, basically giving the phone numbers that I had previously observed Mr. Winfrey calling to the custodian of records at Cobb County and having them query those phone numbers in their system. So then in doing so, I could see that basically these calls were listed from Winfrey, and then all of a sudden there's a couple calls to that same phone number in another inmate's name. And so I requested those and received those.
And the phone number that you queried, did you have a name associated with that phone number?
I likely did. I need to check the report if you don't mind to refresh my memory.
We're looking at your report, help refresh your memory.
It would.
We're looking at 6 Exhibit 171, Echo, help refresh your memory. It should be right in front of you.
Yes, my report, yes.
And directing you to page 183.
Okay, yes.
Who was the, is your memory refreshed?
Yes, yeah. Are you going to want me to memorize that phone number to repeat it for the record?
No,
Okay.
just the name that was associated with the number.
I put it as Shad, or I think we heard Rashad or Shad, something to that effect. I put Shad in my report.
And in listening to the previous jail calls that we listed yesterday, was that name Shad familiar to you, given some of the other calls?
I'll sustain the objection. Mr. Form, you can rephrase.
Had you heard the name Shad prior to listening to this call?
Yes,
Where?
on other jail calls.
Were those jail calls we heard yesterday?
Those are some of them, yes.
In your review of the jail calls, did you hear more calls with this individual by the name of Shad?
Yes, that's correct, yes.
Now, why was this call significant to you?
I heard a money value and a valuable car being discussed in it.
What was the money value you heard?
$250,000, 250,000.
And what was said about the $250,000, 250,000?
Basically, when he gets out, he'll have a Porsche purchased for him and $250,000.
Now, was that Winfrey who said it, or was that Shad who said that to him?
Shad that said that to Winfrey.
Now, sitting here right now, do you know if Jimmy Winfrey was ever paid $250,000?
I don't know that.
Do you know if he ever received a Porsche?
I don't know that.
Sitting here now, do you know if he ever received any compensation?
I don't know that information.
Was there anything else of significance to you regarding this phone call?
I mean, the fact that he was using someone else's PIN, so it was something that was at least being attempted to be concealed through his own PIN number.
I'll overrule the objection.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That there's my interpretation was there's a reason why it was used on.
I'll sustain Mr. Form.
What was your interpretation of him calling under a different PIN number?
Overrule, sir.
There's a reason why it was not on his PIN number.
As it relates to this case, do you know if Jimmy Winfrey ever took a plea?
He did.
In relation to this phone call, how much time passed before he took a plea?
It was approximately a month later, or maybe a month and a day, but a month later.
Sir, do you have an objection? Yes.
See, they get into the area that Attorney Steele was trying to avoid, but it appears that the prosecution has opened the door, and let's see how the judge is going to rule on this. So she says, a lot of prosecutors, witnesses believe and don't know anything. What is the basis of their belief should be the question. And this is going to be a very interesting cross-examination by Attorney Steele. I do believe that he's going to do the cross-examination. But yeah, there's a lot to flush out here. And I think that would apply to the other counsels representing these defendants, that this detective has made some very broad statements, but you got to narrow it down to who in particular are you speaking on, and why are you drawing a inference based on your belief. I believe I can fly, but I won't be jumping out of any windows anytime soon. What is the basis of your belief?
Yes.
When was that?
So this jail phone call was October, so it would have been like November, maybe 23rd, something like that.
Of 2015?
2015.
Now, did you learn that Mr. Winfrey had to, that something occurred, he had to take another plea
Yes.
on the same case?
Same case, yes.
When did that occur?
That was like at least the following year. It was sometime after that. Yeah, probably sometime after that, like the next year. It definitely wasn't 2015.
Sorry. Now, did you ever obtain medical records in this case?
We did.
Why did you obtain medical records?
There was a discussion in reference to a possible defense.
Did you hear?
Also saying objection on other grounds you can rephrase.
Did you ever hear Mr. Winfrey himself in any of your jail calls speak about an injury?
Yes.
What injury?
To hands.
And why did you get the medical records?
We wanted to know the extent of the injury per the medical records.
And did you obtain those medical records?
I did.
Did you find anything that assists you in your investigation as related? I hadn't finished the question yet. Was there anything significant in the records that assisted with your investigation? He's talking about.
Nothing that would change our investigation.
Okay, thank you. Now, as relates to this case, did you have an opportunity to analyze specific cell phones to include the phone ending in 3383, 5790, 2920, and 1990?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to kind of synthesize those phone records and do a phone analysis?
Yes.
What type of phone analysis did you do regarding those records?
So basically the communication of those phones to each other in and around the time, like a 4-hour-ish time frame around the time of our incident.
Okay. You're on permission to approach?
No.
Thank you. I'm going to first show you what the market station is 139E.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize it as 139?
I do.
And how do you recognize it as 139?
So this is the phone records, but it's kind of just been made prettier, I guess I would say, just for ease of looking versus at an Excel document or at a Word document.
And is that station 139E the compilation or the synthesis of the records that we just discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
And are those the records contained in state exhibits
Microphone.
133 Echo, 134 Echo, 135 Echo, and 136 Echo?
Correct.
And does that appear to be a fair and demonstrative of the analysis that you did as it relates to those phones?
Yes, according to my review, yes.
Now, I want you to look at State's Exhibit first, 139 Echo. I don't know what that is, Frank?
Foxtrot.
Okay,
Foxtrot.
Foxtrot. What is State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot?
So that's just a, I'm sorry.
Is it Fox or Foxtrot? Foxtrot, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, so that's just going to be the phone numbers just kind of placed out so we can look at it, and then the known subscriber information to as we know it from the records.
And looking at State's Exhibit 139, Echo Alpha, Echo Bravo, Echo Charlie, Echo Delta, and Echo Echo. This appear to be a blown up version or a larger version, excuse me, of what's contained in State's Exhibit 139 Echo.
Yes, ma'am.
You're right, this time the state would like to tender State's Exhibit 139 Echo and 139 Echo Foxtrot, 139 Echo Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo into evidence as a demonstrative.
Any objections to, further objections to states, 139 Echo Alpha, Echo Bravo, Echo Charlie, Echo Delta, and Echo Echo. I don't object. Echo Foxtrot. Sorry, I don't object. I understand continuing ritual, I don't object or demonstrative, otherwise I do object it. So, okay, well, that's later. For demonstrative purposes, you have no objection? Correct. Okay, all right. There it is.
Thank you.
For demonstrative purposes.
First, looking at State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot. Just explain to the jury what's on State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot.
So this is kind of like what was handwritten on the board yesterday. These are the phone numbers that were frequent calls for the time of the incident. And then as we can see, they're color coded. And then the name that was listed on the phone records is put in on some of those phone numbers or associated with some of those phone numbers.
And again, for 404-583-1990, which exhibit was 404-583-1990?
So that's going to be 134 Echo Charlie was the broken down smaller excerpt.
And for the 504-319-2920, what was the exhibit number for 504-319-2920?
The 135 Echo Charlie is the snippet portion, not the full records.
And for the 404-664-3383, what was that exhibit?
So that's going to be the 133 Echo Charlie. I believe that's going to be the full records.
What is 678-353-9229?
Okay. So that's going to be the 136 Echo Alpha is the disc with those full records.
And then for the 678-815-5790, what's the exhibit number there?
So the excerpt one, just a couple of pages one, is going to be the 138 Echo Charlie.
Now, when you did your analysis, when did you start your analysis from?
The time period?
Yes.
So from about 10 p.m. To about, let's say 4 a.m., just kind of what was leading up to the time of the incident, and then just after the incident. So like a 4-hour window.
And is that 10 p.m. on April 25th?
Correct.
And is that of 2015?
Yes.
And is that leading up until about 4 a.m. on what is the date of the times you're referencing?
So April 25th, 10 p.m. to about April 26th at 4 a.m. So that's a 6-hour window. I'm sorry, my apologies, but yes.
And if you can just kind of walk the jury through what we're seeing in first 139 Echo Alpha. Just tell us who's calling who and what we're seeing here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna leave the mic.
Please don't roll off.
Okay, so on this first page, what we're seeing is kind of just speaking the last four. The 2200, that's gonna be 10 p.m., but the 9596, it's an outgoing call to the 1990 phone number. So if we obviously come down here and look at the our little chart here, so we have this unknown caller calling in to the 1990, which is the YSL Enterprise. Again, we have the same thing just a minute later. We see a 0-second duration, so that means like no one picked up. And then the next call, just a minute later, we have the same numbers involved, outgoing to incoming, and then 40 seconds. So there was actually contact made on that record. Next to the third one down, we see 1990. So now 1990 is calling out. Just
I object to, so we know that there was contact. We know that it's
What's the basis for that, sir? What's the basis for your objection?
the agent said 40 seconds, so we know there's contact made.
I'm going to object. This is speculation.
Hold on, sir.
And let me ask you this. When it comes to the record of 1990, as far as how the record is formed, what time zone is the record in for 1990?
okay. So 1990, the way we get it from AT&T, it's UTC, Universal Time Coordinated. So GMT, it's also referred to. So basically, their records go off Greenwich Mean Time, which is in London. And so you have to do math from what the records are back to our time zone in Eastern time zone here. It depends on the time of the year, daylight savings, or not daylight savings. For this time of the year, it's -4. So what that means, these records, you have to subtract 4 hours to equal Eastern time. That's the way AT&T does it. Other providers will do the conversion and give you the records in our time as they are. So when you get the records back, you have to make note of that. You have to know that. So yes.
Before you go on, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a request that we need to take a comfort break. So please forgive us. We're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute comfort break, and then we'll go ahead and resume our examination. So at this point in time, all rise. All right, our jury has left us. Sir, you can take a 10-minute recess. We'll see you back.
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, whoever needs to use the facilities can go.
All right, you guys still with me? You're still with me? The sidebars be sidebarring. Shout out to CC, one of our new members. CC, what's going on? What's going on, CC? Welcome. Terry. What's good, Terry? Marie Duff. I see you over there, Marie. I see you in there. The dog is a lawyer in disguise. That's funny. Queen Black. We're 2 hours in and we're on a break. 2 hours in. Court started at 1. Started actually after 1. We're on another break.
Summon our witness, please. All right, Sergeant Ingram, summon our jurors, please. While he's doing that, counsels, this is just for you all, for your benefit, just as a reminder, please do not object until the full question has been posited. That is a continuing request from Ms. Weaver. And she has told you, and I'll just reiterate, that she cannot take and make the best record that she can make unless you do that. So please wait till the question's fully posited before you pose an objection. Don't cut off each other. All right? Okay. That was a paid public announcement.
Was that someone's phone that went off? Judge, you missed one. I think that was Mr. Smith's phone. Hold on. Yeah, I'm snitching right now. Oh yeah. Yeah, you check your phone. We busted you. We busted you. See, the judge didn't see that. I caught that. Miss, now you got to go outside and take. See, listen. I'm on it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm on it. Judge, you missed it. Should I send him a text? We heard your phone go off, sir. The cameras are on you, sir. The phone went off. You took Mr. Weinstein's phone, Judge. Get the prosecutor's phone as well. Come on, Mr. Smith, give it up. Give it up. All right, the jury's just. Everybody's about to take their seats. All right.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. All right, Ms. Hilton, you may continue with your examination.
So I think when we had thought you were speaking about the UTC time and having to convert it.
Yes. So UTC is Universal Time Coordinated. So GMT is the same thing. Zulu time in the military is the same thing. Basically, it's the way that everyone in the globe can tell when something happened at the same time is the concept. So because that is basically the standard, UTC is the standard, we're in Eastern time zone here in Atlanta. Not to confuse it, but if it's daylight savings or not, you're either subtracting 4 because you're going 4 time zones back from that UTC line, or you're subtracting 5. Based off the date, we subtract 4 on this incident. So on some records, when you look at the records, it'll say UTC. So on those records, we would have to minus 4 if you're doing this manually. If you're putting it into software that's doing it, the software knows that and the software does it. That's why we have the software to confirm what we're doing manually. Some records come in when you request it from that service provider, they will do the conversion for you and they'll give it to you in the time zone you request it in. But that conversion has been done in these demonstratives. That conversion's already done. So we're looking at the correct time for Eastern time in these demonstratives.
And just for an example, if this 1990 number is an outgoing call at 29 seconds here, what time would it be reflected in the record?
So that's not 29 seconds, that's 0029. So that's midnight. So it's 12:29. Military time, it's 0029. So in that time, if we're seeing 0029 there, that's converted. If that was originally UTC, which it was, we would plus 4 to that number. So in the records, it would show 0429 in the records because it's AT&T. We do the conversion back, minus 4, it equals 0029 to keep it all consistent right there.
And what I'm going to have you do, you're on permission for Agent Racy to step down.
You may step down.
Okay. And if you take that pointer. Now, I believe we were still at the April 25th dates. If you can just go through, let's start with April 25th, who's calling who, what phone numbers is making contact with another phone number.
Okay, so again, green, so we look down here, it's green, so we don't know who the subscriber is at this point in time. And it's at 22:04, so that's 10:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then it's calling 1990 and 0 seconds did not connect. Outgoing 22:05, so 1 minute after at 10:05 p.m. Outgoing to incoming 1990, 40 seconds. There was a 40-second connection between the phones where, based off the records, there's communication for 40 seconds based off the records.
And let me ask you this, the time on the board at the time the call starts? Because some of it.
Correct. If you went on further, yes, correct. So the next one is 2306. So 1106, 1990 is now calling 3383. So again, we check who's 1990, check who's red, who's 3383, and we look and we see, so it's outgoing from what we have as YSL to incoming, which we have Jimmy Winfrey. and that lasted 2 seconds. There was a connection for 2 seconds.
All right. Now, starting on April 26, 2015, what the demonstrative tell us? Or tell the truth?
So we have outgoing from 1990. So again, checking our kind of like our little index here, our cheat sheet key, whatever you want to call it. We have YSL Enterprises calling 3904, which again, we don't have the subscriber data off of cell phone records at that point in time, and it was 0 second connection. So again, continuing down, we have red, so 3383, which has Jimmy Winfrey calling at 1240, 00440, calling 1990, YSL 0 seconds, no connection. Outgoing 1990, 0043 hours, so 1243, calling what we have is Jimmy Winfrey, 2 second connection. And just continuing down, 0044 hours, what we have is Winfrey calling YSL 0 second connection. And if you may just continue.
And let me ask you this, for the rest of this demonstrative, is it the Jimmy Winfrey phone calling the YSL phone back up at least until 1:07 a.m.?
Correct. It's back and forth, and then obviously we see the duration of calls there, right?
Now, same thing. If you can just kind of walk through, what do we see on State's Exhibit 139 Echo Bravo?
So again, we have the blue. Check down what we have blue for 9229. It's the phone that we identified by the subscriber information as a KYBE. So this is at 1:13 in the morning. That's easy conversion from military to or 24 hours in a day to 12 hours. But that's 1:13 calling 1990 for 4 second duration of the phone call.
And one's at 1:13 in the morning.
1:13 in the morning, yes, ma'am.
And Kai B, did we identify the name of the person with the Kai B?
I believe we did. I have to go look at the records, but I believe we did.
Was that the number given to you by Investigator Gaither?
Yes, so that's Demikian Garland, and thank you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so we're on number 2. We have 113. We have Green. Again, we don't know, calling 1990. So that's YSL Enterprises. And then 114, 1993. I'm sorry, we just did that one. That's my mistake, 43 seconds. Going down here, we have YSL calling what we have identified as Jimmy Winfrey at 1:15 a.m. for 8 second duration. We then have YSL at 1:16 calling the 95, 96, 247 seconds. So 60 seconds a minute. You can do the conversion in your head, whatever it is, 4 minutes, whatever that conversion comes out to be.
So about 4 minutes and 7 seconds?
Something to that effect, yes. And then here we have 1990. Again, it's 1:39. And then we have it going to the 95, 96, 13 second connection there. And then we go down to what we have as Kai B, the Demikian Garlington phone. It's 2:32 hours calling YSL, 0 second connection. And then we have YSL at 2:33 calling 6080 for 71 seconds. We don't have the subscriber information at this point. Again, then we have this number unknown, 6080, calling back at 2:35, calling back to the YSL number. That's 177 second connection that we have there. So again, do the math, 60 seconds. So 2.5 minutes, whatever that math real quick in the head works out to be. Kai B, so Demikian Garlington, 2:38. It's the 9229 phone number calling YSL. Again, 42 seconds, so a little over half a minute. And then we have the 5726 at 2:44 calling YSL, 18 second connection on that one.
Now looking at State's Exhibit 139, Echo Charlie.
So same thing, 2:45, YSL calling 3383 at 2:45, 15 seconds. So YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey, 2:45. And then we now have 2:48, Jimmy Winfrey contacting back to YSL, 22 seconds. We have Jimmy Winfrey at 2:49 calling YSL Enterprises back at 2:49 a.m. for 28 seconds. Again, repeating 2:57 in the morning, Jimmy Winfrey calling YSL 26 seconds, and then coming down again. So we have the 5726 phone number, which we don't have the subscriber information for, trying to call YSL Enterprises at 2:58, 0 seconds. YSL now at 3:02, calling, what we have is 3383. So this is Jimmy Winfrey, 3:02 in the morning for 2-second duration. We now have Jimmy Winfrey at 3:03, calling back YSL for 3 seconds. 3:03 again, Jimmy Winfrey again calling YSL, 9-second connection there. So we're getting down to 3:07 a.m. YSL is now calling the 5790. 5790 is who we have identified as YSL Duke. So for 3 seconds, continuing down, we have 1990 YSL again at 3:07, calling YSL Duke for another 3-second connection. 3:08, YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey for 3-second duration of the phone call.
Now looking at 139, Echo Delta. Yes, please.
So we have 1990, which is YSL at 3:08, calling Jimmy Winfrey, 83-second phone call. 0314 hours, we have YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey, 17 seconds.
And what time did the phone call come in for the 911 call?
The 911 phone call reporting the shooting came into Cobb County Dispatch at 0314 hours.
Okay. What do we have next?
We have Jimmy Winfrey now calling YSL Enterprises at 3:15, a 25-second duration phone call. I skipped the duration, I think, on those, but as we can see, 83 seconds for the first one, 17 seconds, 25 seconds. And then we come down to 3:17 a.m. We have the 2920 number calling Jimmy Winfrey, and this is a 536-second connection. Looking down at our chart, who is 2920? That is the phone that we have identified as Cash Money, who's
And then we identify it with a person that's in the
identified
records.
with a person, Brian Williams' phone, as Cash Money. So Brian Williams' Cash Money is calling Jimmy Winfrey, incoming phone call to Jimmy Winfrey at 3:17 for 536 seconds. We then have another incoming call from, again, Cash Money, Brian Williams at 3:26 a.m. coming in to Jimmy Winfrey for a 5-second phone call. We then have 3:36 a.m. Jimmy Winfrey now goes an outgoing call to incoming Brian Williams Cash Money records at 3:36 for 25 seconds.
Right.
And then continue on, man.
Yes.
So at 3:37, we have 5726, again, checking our key. No subscriber information, calling 1990, which is YSL, 0-second connection. 3:38, we have YSL calling the 5726, no subscriber information, 3-second duration. We then have YSL at 3:53 calling 5790. So 5790 is going to be YSL Duke. 0-second connection. We have 1990 YSL at 3:53 calling again YSL Duke, 0-second connection. We then have YSL Enterprises 619 calling YSL Duke for 4-second connection.
And is that 6:19 in the morning?
That is 6:19 in the morning, yes, ma'am.
And then for our last port, 139 Echo Echo. Let me just ask you here generally, is this the 1990 YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone from about 6:19?
Basis. I stand the objection. You can rephrase.
Is the YSL phone calling is the YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone?
Yes.
And what are the times that the YSL phone is calling the YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone?
6:19 a.m., 6:19 a.m., 6:44 a.m., 6:44 a.m., 15:56. So the conversion is 3:56 p.m., 3:56 p.m., 18:57. So -2. So that's 6:56 p.m., 27 seconds, 18:56. So same, 6:56 p.m. for 27 seconds.
Okay. And does that appear to be a duplicative of this call here? Both 18:56 and 27 seconds?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, as relates to, let me ask first, the YSL Duke phone, were you able to plot or determine where the YSL Duke phone was?
No, YSL Duke.
You never see it. And why is it?
The YSL Duke phone number, I only sent a grand jury subpoena to that phone number, which means I did not get historical cell site data. I did not get location data through that. So I didn't have historical cell site data to place the YSL Duke phone number.
What about the 1990 number? Were you able to plot or know where the 1990 number was during this duration?
Yes, I received the cell site data for the 1990 phone number.
And did you receive that from AT&T in 2015?
Yes, correct.
And permission to approach?
Have you shown the documents to defense counsel? You may,
I'm gonna show you what's the mark, the 60172 Echo. You recognize it as the 172 Echo.
I do.
And how do you recognize it as the 172?
These are the notes that I made this morning in reference to the location information.
And is this the same location information that's contained within the excerpt in the 60134 Echo chart?
That's correct. That's where I got it from.
And did you just say, what did you do in order to do that?
Basically, I just used a snippet tool, a line off of the records, and then copied it on a Word document. And then I took the Latin long, the latitude and longitude that was provided by AT&T in their records and threw it into Google Maps. And it dropped a pin. And then I just screened the snippet, basically the Google Maps with the pin location. And then I just put that picture in the Word document, and then basically created notes that I could see what Latin long and a visual aid for myself with a pin dropped.
And will that assist you in telling me where that phone was, that 1990 phone was on between April 25th and April 26th, 2017?
Yes, absolutely.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to tender State Exhibit 172E as a demonstrative.
any objection to states on 171 Echo as a demonstrative?
172 Echo.
172 Echo as a demonstrative? Mr. Sharp? Microphone, sir.
I do object.
Basis.
The demonstrative is not what the detective purports it to be. I can approach to explain.
I don't think that's a valid objection at this point in time. I'll just overrule
Well,
it.
there would be lack of authentication.
Overrule, sir. Overruled. All right, on 172 Echoes admitted over objection may be published as you see fit as a demonstrative only.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our previous objection, you found no qualification.
I still note, yes, sir, noted. And continuing. All right,
So what was that agent telling me where that phone was at certain times throughout that evening and morning?
Yes.
Starting with the first location plot, what was the time that you plotted?
So I took just a snippet. So it has 01:58. Again, that's UTC time. So you have to do the minus 4 hours. So that's going to place us at 9:58 p.m.
Okay.
on the 25th. So you have to roll back because that's placing us the day before.
Oh, sorry.
You said turned off. Okay. Okay, now it's off. Yeah.
Roughly, where was the general location, general address for that number at that time?
So generally speaking, it's just a little bit north of the I-75, I-85 split on the bottom side of Atlanta. So it's, if we were looking at a clock, It's 6 o'clock, meaning down, straight down from the center of Atlanta where the connector is, just north of the split, the 75-85 split. I can give you the latitude and longitude, and then that's going to be of the cell tower.
Your Honor,
Sir.
I'm.
What, you have an objection?
Yes.
Basis.
Confusing the jury, and we're getting to the point of my objection.
Okay,
We're talking about cell towers.
okay, yeah, I got your objection. I'll overrule your objection and note it for the record, sir.
We don't need to let long. Do you have to know what phone number is being connected to at that time?
Yes.
What number is that?
So it's the originating number is going to be the 1990. The number that it's calling is going to be 404-426-6263.
What's the next time that you plotted?
So it's going to be 02:05 hours on the 26th. Again, the conversion to 4:25:15 is going to place us at 10:05 p.m.
And where is the general area of that phone?
Okay. Generally, it's the same. It's in the area of Metropolitan Parkway.
So that different from the I-75, I-85?
Yes, it's just slightly north of that.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So this is going to be the originating phone number is 504-346-9596. And it's calling our 1990 YSL phone.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
So I jumped closer to the further up in time.
Okay.
So it's 03:04. So subtract 4. Again, that's the 26. So subtract 4 puts us at 11:04 p.m. on the 25th.
Where's the general area of that?
It's downtown Atlanta, generally where we are now, just kind of like in the heart of Atlanta, it's west of the Grady Curve.
And what's the phone number being contacted?
So 1990 is contacting 404-798-8491.
8491?
Correct.
Okay. What's the next location?
So I jumped ahead an hour again. So this is 04:06 on 4/26/15. So that's easy conversion. Minus 4, it puts us at midnight, just inside the night of the 26th. So 12:06 a.m. on the 26th.
Okay. Where is the general area of that call?
We go back to our almost first location. So the I-75, I-85 split just north of that area.
Yes, Mr. Weinstein, you have an objection?
Yeah, I do have.
Basis.
I do have an objection. It calls for speculation as far as area of the call. He knows where the cell tower is.
Okay,
but not the call.
speculation is your objection, not the rest of the speaking. I'm going to overrule the objection, sir.
And let me ask you this. With cell phone tower, does it give you an exact pinpoint or a radius or area?
So in these records, this is a location of the tower. So we just have a radius. But going off this, we just have.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I
Basis.
need to raise an objection. Again, it's calling for expert testimony.
I would agree
He's
with
not
that.
an expert.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, disregard the last statement of our witness.
Your Honor, I would, without that explanation, I would move to strike his entire.
I just said Jurors to I said jurors to disregard the last statement.
And I would move to strike the previous testimony because
Overruled, sir. Thank you.
All right, so you said I-75, just north of the split.
Correct.
And what is the phone number that's being called?
So the 1990 is calling 404-798-8491.
All right, what's the next time?
Okay, so I just jumped ahead another hour. So it's 4:26 at 05:13. So doing the conversion, it's 1:13 on the 26th.
So it was 0426 to 0513, just 0513.
05:13, it now converting it, it's 1:13 Eastern Standard Time.
And where's this phone? Where did you plot this phone at? This call at?
Similar to,
calls for speculation.
I
As to
stand
where
the
the phone was at.
I stand the objection.
Where did you plot?
similar to the last location, just slightly south of the last location. So the I-75-85 split just south of that.
And what's the number being contacted?
The originating number is 404-426-6263, and that's calling our YSL 1990 phone.
What is the next time?
It's the same time, 0513. And so it's 1:13 in the morning, correct?
What area did you plot?
Just south of what's known as the Grady Curve. It's more north than our last location on the 75-85 connector, but it's south of the Grady Curve. It's just a little bit north of our last location.
Are you saying the other location is north of this location?
That is more north than our last one. So it's from the last one we spoke about, it moved north.
Okay.
The plot is north of
Now,
that.
when you said I-75-85 split, which I-75-85 split are you referencing?
We're still talking about the bottom one, the south side of the city, not
Not-
north side.
Okay, so for clarity, so when you were talking about this I-75-I-85 split, are we talking about closer to the airport or closer to going towards Buckhead?
I've been the entire time.
Ask and answer, John, instead of.
Okay, all right, that's, I don't need any speaking objections, gentlemen. Keep telling you all that. I'll sustain your objection.
You're right. Okay. All of these were I-75-85 south?
Correct.
Is that close to the airport?
Yes, it is. If we're using that as a reference, closer to the airport, yes.
Is that the same for what I've identified as number 4 on here?
Yep. Yes, same reference point.
Okay, so when you talk about the graded curve, which is what we're gonna apply as number 6,
It's south of the Grady Curve, correct? South, just south of the Grady
this is
Curve.
just south of the graded curve. What phone number?
678-353-9229 is calling our YSL 1990 phone.
Okay, sorry, 678.
Yes, 353-9229.
number, did you pop another call after this?
Oh, yes.
What time was it?
It's 0516. So that's 1:16 a.m. on the 26th.
And where is the area that you plotted?
It's it's just west of the I-20, I-75, I-85 connection. Just that's right at the bottom part of the Grady curve. Basically, near the state capitol, just south of the state capitol, at the I-20, 75, 85 kind of intersection area.
All right. And what number was contacted?
Our 1990 YSL Enterprise phone is calling 504-346-9596.
Is it 346-9596?
Yes, correct.
Okay. What's the next location that you plotted, or next time you plotted?
So this is going to be 0657 hours. So -4.
2:57 a.m.
That's correct. On the 26th.
What's the area of this call?
So that's going to be kind of west of Georgia Tech. So we're now, if we're looking at a clock, we're now looking at like at 10 o'clock if you were drawing from the center of Atlanta out to northwest of like kind of where we're at now. Just west, it's western direction from like the Georgia Tech area. I could give you a better reference point if you would like.
Yes, please.
It's getting into the area of Brady Avenue, the compound.
All right. And what number is being contacted?
So the YSL Enterprise phone is being contacted by 404-664-3383, which is the phone number that the subscriber information comes back to Jimmy Winfrey.
What's the next time that you plotted?
0657.
Is that the,
I'm sorry, 0658. I'm sorry. So just 1 minute later.
is that 2:58 a.m.?
That is correct.
Say 4/26/2015.
That's correct.
Where's the area of that phone?
The compound, Brady Avenue.
Is this same Northwest Georgia Tech?
That's correct.
And what's the phone number?
So the number calling our YSL phone number is 404-901-5726.
All right. What's the next one?
It's 0703. So the -4 conversion is 3:03 a.m.
Where's that phone plotted?
Similarly the same, Brady Avenue, Club Compound.
And what's the phone number?
So the phone number calling our YSL Enterprise phone number is 404-664-3383, which is what we've identified as Jimmy Winfrey.
And for all these, this is where the cell tower is located for these plots.
Correct.
looking at, did you plot something else after this?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Where is the next time?
0707 hours, so -4 conversion equals 3:07 a.m.
What's the location?
So it's going a northwestern direction away from our area of Brady Avenue Club Compound, towards going more northwest towards 285.
And what phone number is being contacted?
So this is our 1990 YSL Enterprises phone number, contacting 678-815-5790.
What's the next time that you plotted?
0714 hours,
0714.
correct,
Okay.
which equals 3:14 a.m.
On 426.
on 4/26.
Where's this plotting?
It's plotting 285 at I-75. Best reference point is near the Battery Braves Stadium would be my reference point. That's current day Brave Stadium. Obviously in 2015, I don't think the Braves were there yet.
Okay. And what's the phone number being contacted?
Our 1990 YSL phone number is contacting 404-664-3383 that we've identified as Mr. Jimmy Winfrey's phone number.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What is it?
0715 hours, so 3:15 a.m.
Where is the phone? Where did you plot?
It's 285 east of I-75, more towards Northside Drive would be my reference point in that direction, general area.
Did you say 285 east?
Correct. So it's still on the 285 line, east of I-75. And my best reference point would be, I think it's Northside Drive is the next exit, if my memory serves me.
Okay. And what number is being contacted?
So 404-664-3383, which we've identified as Jimmy Winfrey, is contacting our YSL Enterprises 1990 phone.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What did you plot?
0716 hours, so 1 minute later, that puts us at 3:16 a.m.
Okay.
So our YSL phone number, I'm sorry, you want location?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, jumped ahead. We're still on the 285, going eastbound or northbound, however you want to determine it there. And it's further that northeastern direction, going towards 400.
And what number is being contacted?
So the YSL Enterprise phone number 1990 is contacting 706-351-7742.
Okay. Did you plot after this?
I did.
What is that?
0718, which puts us at 3:18 a.m.
Where's the where did you plot?
It's going more that northeast direction, tracing I-285, going towards 400. I think the next exit's like Roswell Road, around that area, if my memory serves me.
And for the plot before that, is that still in that Roswell Road area or?
Yeah, it's correct. It's just moving more easternly. It's the one before that's on the other side of the Chattahoochee right there. This one is on, the one before that was on the west side of the Chattahoochee. This one's on the east side of Chattahoochee. So we're just moving in that same direction.
And when you said Chattahoochee, you mean the river?
The river.
Okay. What's the phone number being contacted?
So on this one, a number is calling into our YSL phone, and it's the 1990, and it's 770-875-2045.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What's the next one?
The next phone call is at 0728. So that's 3:28 a.m.
Okay. Where is the location of this phone?
So we're now on I-75. Basically, I would say in between 285 and the I-75, I-85 connector, kind of right in between. So I would imagine just south of Northside Drive. Without blowing up the map, I'd say just smack dab in the middle.
You said I-75.
So smack dab in the middle, if you're tracing I-75 from 285 in the Grady curve, smack in the middle of the connector and 285, just right there in the middle on I-75.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So a phone number is calling into our YSL Enterprise 1990. It's the 706-351-7742.
Did you plot after that?
I did.
What's the time?
7:36 UTC. So that puts us at 3:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's the area that was plotted?
We're now south of the Grady curve at the I-75, I-85 intersection of I-20. We're south of I-20.
Is that still on 7585?
Yeah, so on 75-85, south of I-20, just coming south of the Grady curve.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So calling into our YSL cell phone, enterprise cell phone, is the 706-351-7742.
Did you plot after that?
I did.
What's that?
So 1 minute later, 7:37 UTC, which is 3:37 a.m.
Where was the area that was plotted?
Pretty much the same exact area before.
Is that I-75, I-85?
Correct. South of I-20. Correct. South of the Grady curve. I'm trying to think my Atlanta geography. I think that's like Georgia State's new stadium. That's there, the old Turner Field kind of area.
And what's the phone number?
So calling into our YSL Enterprise phone number is 404-901-5726.
Okay. What's the next time?
So 0738 UTC, so just 3:38 a.m.
What's the location?
So it's south of what we were at before. So it's on the I-75-85 interstate, south of the I-20 and Grady curve.
Is that still in the same Turner Field, old Turner Field location somewhere?
It's just south of that location.
What's the phone number?
So our YSL Enterprise 1990 is contacting 404-901-5726.
All right.
I think last but not least is it's 0753 UTC. So it's just 3:53 a.m.
What's the area?
So it's, I would say Metropolitan Parkway near I-20.
And what's the phone number?
So our YSL Enterprise 1990 is contacting 678-815-5790.
And have we identified that number? The 5790.
5790. Where's our key at?
The first one? No, going back. Last one. Oh, no, mine's over here.
Sorry about that. 5790 is the YSL Duke.
Okay. Now, looking at the plots on the 1990 phone, are there any similarities with the route that the 3883 phone took on the night of April 25th, 2015 into the morning of April 26th, 2015?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation on the plot film versus the plot of the towers.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Looking at what we charted out yesterday with some of the location areas, did you see any consistency between what we plotted out yesterday with the location areas and what we plotted out today, the location areas?
Objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
Looking at the chart from yesterday, do you see some of the same location names that you identified yesterday?
Same objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
Yesterday at 2:01 a.m., did you notate that on April 26th, that this phone, the 3883 phone, was in the area of Brady Avenue?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation.
Overruled, sir. I'll sustain as to leading, but I'm not, I'll overrule that as the answer.
What time, looking at what we did yesterday, at 2:01 and 3:04, is there a notation regarding Brady Avenue?
There is.
And at that time, what phone number was being contacted?
The 1990 YSL Enterprise phone.
And based on yesterday, did you identify a particular area based on this chart that we did yesterday?
I did.
What was that?
So that's Brady Avenue, Club Compound.
Okay. Now, looking at what we just discussed, do you see a notation for the 1990 phone at about 2:57 a.m.?
I stand the objection.
Is there a line for 2:57 a.m. on what we just charted out?
There is.
Okay. And on that same line, is that line number 8?
Yes,
Okay, on that same line number 8, did you identify a general area?
I did.
What was that?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, how about a comfort break? You okay? About 10 minutes, maybe? What do you think? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a comfort break, 10 minutes, okay? All right, all rise. All right, our jury is left the stage.
My clients and yours and Mr. Adams' occurrence, I was hoping to be today for exam.
Will you go ahead and take your seats, please?
Yes, Bruce.
Everybody here?
No, we good.
Everybody here?
Yes.
All right, Sergeant Brown, is everybody here supposed to, seated? I'll note for purpose of record, Mr. Sharp wishes to be excused. Mr. Botch, you have the con, so to speak. Mr. Stillwell, that's okay with you, sir? Okay, all right. All right, summon our jurors, please, sir. And our witness.
All rise.
All juror present, accounted for.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, Ms. Hilton, you may continue examination now.
Demonstrative of 172 Echo.
Yeah, sorry.
Now, first, looking at the first page of 172 Echo. What is this first map that we're looking at? If you could scroll down. Is that the first, is that a map of the first location that we discussed?
It's been, purposes only.
It's been a minute for demonstrative purposes.
I'm checking right now, sir. Hold on 1 second. 190, you said 180 what?
No, 172, Your Honor, Echo.
Yes, it's been, Mr. Shields, it's been admitted for demonstrative purposes. Thank you.
Now, earlier when you talked about the location, is that where what is at this location? What is at the pin site?
So what's at the pin site?
Yes.
So that's the location in which the CDRs direct me to, is the way to say it.
Let me ask a more direct question. Is that a cell tower?
Yes.
Okay. And as we look at the maps and we talked about where you plotted, are you plotting where the cell tower is located? That's
correct.
Okay. All right. So now looking at the 158, is that the 958 timeframe on 4/25/2015?
That is correct.
All right. And again, in looking at the map, is that similar to what you were speaking of when you said it was I-75 to I-85 split south of the airport, closer to the airport?
Correct. We could see the split just below that pin drop. And the airport's, of course, right there. We see that blue airport pin that Google Maps put on it. But yes, that red pin is just north of the 75 to 85 split on the south side of the city.
Okay, now going up to the next map. Now, is that the time for 205?
Correct.
Okay, and again, is that the area that you identified, the cell tower? Excuse me, let me ask you this without leading. What is the pinpoint? What is the red dot? Excuse me.
Red dot's the cell tower location.
And is that what you identified here as the Metropolitan Parkway area?
Yes, so Metropolitan Parkway is that directly north and south, right to the, so that's gonna be the Metropolitan Parkway right there. So we're north of I-75, 85, and that's Metropolitan Parkway right there. So I just identified it as a reference point that it's close to the Metropolitan Parkway.
And when it came to your investigation, what, if anything, was near Metropolitan Parkway?
The Vault Studio.
Okay. Now looking at what we identified here as number 3. And is that the 3:04 time frame?
Yes, that is.
And where is the red dot?
So that's going to be where I described, I think, here at the courthouse, basically, west of the Grady curve, which that's the curve. And I'll say Grady's right in the middle, but that's the Grady curve, and just west of the Grady curve, kind of like where we're at now, the heart of downtown Atlanta.
And is that where the cell tower is located?
Correct.
All right. Looking at number 4. And again, where is the pinpoint and what did you describe?
So that's what I described. It's kind of back at that, just north of the I-75, 85 split on the south side.
And you can use your stick, or use the stick.
So just north of that 75, 85 split, and of course the airport would be like right down here again, but we're just north of that split.
And for the record, are you pointing at the screen that is now showing State's Exhibit 172 Echo?
That's correct.
All right. Now looking at number 5,
Yep.
which is the 5:13 time.
Mhm.
You can describe for sure based on the map what we discussed
So
at
that-
number 5.
Yeah, so that's gonna be the 75 as we can see, and the 85 split, and as we described it, kind of near the, so here's the airport, so we're kind of near the airport. And again, that's that 75, 85 split right there.
And again, is that where the cell tower is located?
That's correct.
All right. Okay. Looking at number 6,
Correct.
is that describe again based upon here what we're looking at number 6?
Correct. So we're on the 75, 85.
You can bring it out a little bit.
We're on the 75, 85 connector right here, south of I-20, south of the Grady curve, south of I-20, right here on the connector.
Okay. Now, number 7. Right here we have a 521. So where's that one located? Oh, no, that's 516. I'm sorry.
516, yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so 516, which is going to put us at 1:16 a.m. That's that pin that we discussed being west of the I-75, 85 connector, just south of 20. And I describe it kind of like the Capitol, because the Capitol is kind of just at the bottom part of the Grady curve right there, where our state capitol is. So we're kind of just south of that location as described previously for 7.
And again, is this where the cell tower is located?
That's correct.
All right. Looking at number 8, which is the time at 6:57. Again, if you can kind of explain or show what we're looking at in the map based upon number 8.
Okay, so Georgia Tech is kind of like in this area right in here. And the cell tower, I described it of being like northwest of Georgia Tech near Brady Avenue. So Brady Avenue is going to be right kind of generally in this area, but Georgia Tech's there. So we're looking kind of right in that area, but the cell tower, the pin is right there.
Okay. And again, based on your investigation, was that the general location where the compound is?
That's correct.
All right. And again, is that pinpoint a cell tower
That's
location?
a cell tower location.
All right. Looking at number 9. Oh, I think,
I think they should. Okay,
come down one.
correct.
Okay, right here. Okay, now looking at number 9.
Yeah, so that's 6:58 UTC, which puts us at 2:58 AM. I describe it as northwest of Georgia Tech, near the club compound. So that's kind of, that cell site location is closer to club compound Brady Avenue than the previous one. That's that I previously discussed.
And I think you just said it, but again, is that just where the cell tower is located?
Cell tower located there.
All right, I'm sorry, I flipped it. And now number 10.
Sure. So 10 is at 07:03 UTC, which puts us at 3:03 AM. And we're now at the cell tower, kind of like previously described, northwest of Georgia Tech and west of Brady Avenue there.
Okay. So based on the records between 257 and 303, the phone it's on 3 different cell towers in that general location, in that location.
I sustain the objection.
Based on between 257 and 303, where are the cell towers located?
Overruled, sir.
So this cell tower and this cell tower, number 8 and line number 10, those appear to be in that northwestern direction, and this one appears to be compound. So there is at least tower movement is what we're seeing at the cell phone and the towers.
Ms. Hilton, before you pose another question, counsel, can I see you for a second? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a natural stopping point for the day. So what I'd like to do is just recess us for today. Agent Racy, if you could be here tomorrow morning for 9:45 for anticipated 10 o'clock start time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna release you at this time, sir.
Yes, sir.
Don't discuss testimony with anybody except the attorneys in this case.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any minister inquiry of me? Okay. Tomorrow morning, report time 9:30 for anticipated 10 o'clock start time. We'll have a regular work day and see where the day leads us, okay? All right, let's go through your admonitions. Remember, leave your notepads in the basket. Please do not discuss anything about this case that you may have heard today, either when you're going out or as you are going to get your vehicles or take any mode of conveyance back to your homes in our great county. Please do not discuss this case in any way along with your fellow juror members, as well as your family, friends, or anybody else that may be interested in this particular proceedings. Remember, you're not authorized to tell them anything about what is your experiences thus far or anything that you heard. Do not go on any third-party websites to do any extra research or to augment or otherwise your understanding. The only thing you can consider is presented in the four walls of this courtroom. Remember, you cannot go by and visit any of the scenes or that may have been depicted or shown to you. Also, please do not allow for anybody to discuss this case within your presence and hearing. Remember, if anybody should try and discuss this case in your presence or hearing or reach out to you in any way, shape, or form, telephone, email, or otherwise, or in person, you need to let myself and Sergeant Ingram know immediately. And also remember, ladies and gentlemen, it would be a violation of this court's admonitions for you to sit back there and otherwise recap testimony, get a head start, or otherwise discuss or comment or handicap any witness or witnesses that have testified in this case or speculate as to anything else you may hear. You can only consider what is lawfully presented to you within the four walls of this courtroom. And at such time and circumstances, this court will give you directions on how you to begin that process. But until that time, it would be forbidden for you to do that. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, and the last thing, as usual, and as customary, I end off with just thank you for your patience and thank you for your continued patience that you're continuing to give. And ladies and gentlemen, unless you have any other questions or inquiry of me, I'll recess you all tomorrow morning for 09:30 for an anticipated 10 o'clock start time, okay? All right. We are checking on your pay, as I told you. That is being submitted. And remember, if you have any issues with that, I can inquire, but let the process take, give a few days. I don't know exactly when they submit these things, but just make sure that if you don't think that you have your enumeration is correct, let me know and I know somebody. We'll check, okay? All right. Okay, unless you have anything else, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow morning for 09:30. All rise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Our jury has left us. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, any other minister inquiry me? So now I'll release you till tomorrow morning.
Can I make a motion and just let me know if I can do this tomorrow so I don't waste the time. Is that okay? Not waste the time, but take up the time.
What motion do you wish to make, sir?
So I made it at the bench. The state asked Double Agent Ray C whether Mr. Winfrey pled guilty shortly after the October phone call that was played over objection, where he was, where an unknown person states that another unknown person stated he would get a Porsche.
Yeah, we covered that already. So you have an additional objection, sir?
Yeah, so this is my issue. So the state said, did he plead guilty? Knowing.
But we covered that, Mr. Steele. We covered that. So what's the additional ruling on it?
Knowing that was not a guilty plea. That was a coerced guilty plea is not a guilty plea.
But we had a discussion at the bench, and I told you that you can inquire into that depending upon what was testified to.
Okay, and I'm going to do that. I propose, but my point is that was so low blow to say a month later, a man who was coerced by a Superior Court judge in Cobb County pled guilty, that I don't know if I can overcome that, because the impression is that Mr. Winfrey was being rewarded for his guilty plea. The state knows that guilty plea was not.
But we don't know as I mentioned earlier, the bench, we don't know the circumstances of why that particular first guilty plea was rejected. I don't think it's relevant for our purposes. I don't think, and I think the state said they weren't going to get into it. So again, the second time, because we covered that up at the bench, do you have anything else you wish to add to that? I don't think the state was trying to insinuate anything. If you want to test that or reason, because it might go to bias, it might go to motive to misrepresent. So
it bothers me a great deal, and I'm surprised, but I'm not ever in the mind of the court. It doesn't bother the court because it doesn't go to bias, and the state knows exactly what they did. They know, and you know.
I don't. I don't. The first time that I knew that there was an appellate opinion is when you told me, and that's it. I don't have any. I don't have any other knowledge of that.
Well, I read every opinion, and Winfrey versus State specifically states, and it gives what happened, that the Honorable Judge Staley in Cobb County coerced a human being to enter a guilty plea. For the state of Georgia to say, did he plead guilty a month later? That to me is beyond the pale. And I would like the court to.
I think that's just them asking. They're not asking why, which would be improper. But because it gets into evidence that would be not relevant for this particular proceeding.
I'm like so twisted in my mind. I might be tired, but I don't follow. It should have never come in. It did come in. Now I have to deal with it. You tell me I'm cross. And
I don't think you're conflating, Mr. Steele, the bottom line basis as to why the initial guilty plea was rejected by our appellate court. I'm telling you that I don't know what the basis of that. I still don't know because I didn't read the opinion. The state didn't solicit that or elicit it from the witness. They only just said, hey, he pled guilty on another thing a month later. But the relevant portion that the court heard was the fact that if the jury wants to believe it, is the why as to what Mr. Winfrey may or may not have gotten. And that's the only thing that I heard at this point in time.
I think that, from being a person who loves what we do and loves the courts, I think it's offensive to say and have an agent testify that a guilty plea occurred when everybody knows or should know that guilty plea is not a guilty plea. It is struck, vacated.
Okay, and Mr. Steele, I'm kind of just telling you that the reason and rationale is not, that would be totally improper for us to get into.
Okay.
I would agree about that, but I don't think that was the state's intention in asking that question. So I'll note your concern for purposes of the record, okay?
Okay, so I'm going to make a proffer then for about 10 seconds if I may. And I understand what you said. Of course, I'll follow your rule. But I was going to ask Agent Racy, I was going to take the opinion, and I would be perfect to the opinion. And you stated that this man pled guilty. The man actually wanted to go to trial. You could say yes or no. The man was then told by Judge Staley that she doesn't see him winning. She knows the people in Cobb County. They will not like him. He will go to prison. He's going to be sentenced for X number of years, whatever the opinion says, and then he can answer the questions. And I will then ask the court to strike that testimony again, like I did earlier. I understand you're telling me it's not relevant. I believe that it should have never come in the first place, and the state of Georgia has misled the jury. He did not plead guilty a month later because we do not recognize that as guilty. When I say we, our system of what we call just was not, it was perverted.
Okay, all right. Hold on, Mr. Matthews. The state wish to be heard on that issue?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Hilton.
Your Honor, first I want to direct the court to an order that was entered on April 9, 2024, in which there was an order in which we cannot discuss the appellate process. What is a fact is that Mr. Winfrey pled a month later. what the state asked, which was my next question, for, and I forget how I phrased the question, did he have to plead again and plead again to the same charges? And he said, yes, approximately a year later, to show that there was something that occurred and he had to plead again. But the fact remained that 1 month later, he took a plea. Now, the reason why it was overturned, or the reason why, that is the appellate process in which the court has ordered that we cannot discuss and that we cannot get into. What Mr. Steele is speaking of is the reason why it was overturned. That is not for this jury to determine. They can know he pled once and then he had to plead again, which is the plea that we had. Because what I can imagine is on cross-examination, if I did not ask that question, they would have crossed him on it. And so what I did was ask him about a fact, which was a fact, which was a fact. And then did something else occur later on, which is also a fact. And if Mr. Steele is going to go into what occurred during the appellate process, he's going to be assuming facts, not in evidence, because that we never asked him anything about the appellate process.
When did I enter that order?
On April 9th, 2024.
Okay, all right. So I've already dealt with that issue, Mr. Steele. I note your objection, so I don't believe that those questions would be relevant for this inquiry based upon my order. So, but I'll note your objection for the record, okay?
Of course. No,
All right.
I appreciate your kindness. Can I have 2 more statements for this, though? If you don't mind. I understand the ruling. I just want to make 2 more statements.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. First one is, I don't know how the state can say I was going to, or anyone, maybe I shouldn't speak for other people. I never had a conversation with the prosecution that I would ever cross-examine a witness on a coerced guilty plea.
You made a proffer, that's all. I mean, I don't think we need to spend more time with it, but
Well, that's.
I'm good.
They took the wind out of the sails. I never, ever was going to do that. Number 2, based upon your ruling, I understand it, and I'd just like you to, I'm going to move for a mistrial because I can't cross in it. If it's denied, can you just do what I've been doing? Just.
I'll deny the motion for mistrial. I'll go ahead and grant you, I will note that you've asked again for mistrial before the positing of the next question, which you've done. All right. Mr. Matthews, did you have something you wanted to
Yes,
tell?
sir. I just wanted to chime in on that issue that has just been addressed by the court. I wanted to.
Which issue, sir?
That the Honorable Mr. Steele addressed with the court.
Which one?
regarding the guilty plea.
Okay.
Or lack thereof.
Okay.
So essentially, Your Honor, when the state had Agent Racy on the stand, they started with the jail call. They played the jail call, give you a Porsche and a $250,000. Then they identified this person's shot. What did you hear him say? Heard a $250,000 Porsche purchase. What was significant about that call? And then, Your Honor, the state said, now did a month later that Jimmy Winfrey plead guilty. He, in the testimony, the response was he pled. Mr. Steele made an ask to approach. We approached. He made his points at the bench. After he approached, that's when the state furthered their question and said, hey, did something occur a year later? And did he take another plea? So that was afterwards. So in my mind, Your Honor, that sequence of questioning by the prosecution led the jury to assume and conclude that it was after he heard a $250,000, after he heard that a Porsche was going to be given to him, he pled a month later. And I don't think we can unring that. And again, the Winfrey versus State 304 Georgia 94, what Mr. Steele is saying, which I tend to agree with, is that after that Supreme Court reversed that plea, it was not a plea. It was not a guilty plea on that date when he initially pled a month later, because it was reversed. And it was reversed because the Supreme Court determined that the judge improperly, under Uniform Rules of Superior Court of 33.5 paragraph A, determined that she improperly involved herself in plea negotiations, and there are a number of quotes, "This opportunity is going away."
Okay, what does that have to do with
Well, what it-
the issue of what was just presented? I get it. The guilty plea was faulty for whatever reason.
And the state
And-
knew that, and they had a responsibility to know that. This is their.
But we covered that on order on the 9th. We covered that at the bench. Mr. Steele already went through it. Do you have anything new you want to tell me?
Just that they, on the 9th, the state knew that. They knew that before they asked that question this morning.
Anything else, sir?
So I'm intimating to the court that that door has been opened in our estimation. The court will have to rule on it.
I don't believe that door has been opened. I believe that at this point in time, it's going to stay closed. Okay? But I'll note your objection for the record.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. We're in recess till tomorrow morning at 9:30. I'll see you all then. Okay? All right. 9:40. Oh, well, you all need to be here at 9:30 because it takes a little while for everybody to kind of get situated. All right. I'll see you all in the morning. Okay? All right. We're in recess.
Man. What this is ladies and gentlemen, what just happened here? The judge got so tight, man. I thought, boy, wait a minute. You can't challenge the judge. You can't challenge the judge, but yes, you can. You can challenge the judge, ladies and gentlemen, because this, in my estimation, should probably had not been able to be allowed because, as the judge said, it was already argued on the 9th. And Mr. Maxwell made a good point in bringing that up. We knew the judge erred in that by involving herself in the plea negotiation. That was well known. But this is crazy. This is outrageous. It's outrageous. And just look how the judge ended the court. Guys, I'll be on camera in a second. 1 second. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. This just happened. This just happened. This just happened. Wow. The judge was trying to get the heck get out of there. Get up out of there. I'm not hearing no more of this. It's time for me to go home. And my dog needs to be fed. We get it, Your Honor. We get it. This case is ripe for an appeal. And when I say it's ripe for an appeal, the higher court is going to look at all this and they're going to rule and they're going to analyze everything that was objected to and the judge overruled. So it doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop here because it does appear that there's a pattern. There's a pattern, ladies and gentlemen. And that pattern will likely be reviewed at a later date. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please step up to the front of the line. Step up to the front of the line. Step up. The dog is under, well, it's by the judge's foot. This is, it's by the judge's foot. He probably come out during jury deliberation. He may walk out. He may even bark out the verdict. We don't know. We don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. And shout out to Live View for providing the stream for the day. Thank you for providing the stream for the day. Thank you, Live You, for providing the stream for the day. If you have any questions at this point, now is the time to ask. There's a lot to unpack here. We will be doing a recap later this evening. So make sure you are locked in. At this point, I think Robert is trolling me. I think Rob is trolling me at this point. I'm going to say Robert might be my troll. But I've been right every time, Robert. These things are ripe for an appeal. Every case, yes, not just a celebrity case. This is just one of few, Robert. One of few. But if you're just trolling, let it be known. Roscoe will probably not be called as a witness. I don't see the necessity of bringing him in as a witness. You know, one, he would be bad for the defense, and he would be bad for the prosecution. Just because of his close association with Young Thug, we heard him on the phone calls. There is a clear association with the two. Now, is that association because Young Thug that's his homie, and he's pretty much trying to support him? You also got to get over the hurdle about the car and going to buy him a Porsche, or it's a lot of things that they got to overcome. The defense, there are a lot of things that they got to overcome. It still may be a problem. This is definitely not a clear-cut case. This is definitely not a clear-cut case. One way or the other, the pendulum is still swinging, but if the judge is putting his foot on the scale, not saying that he is, we have to see. Ladies and gentlemen, with that said, we are going to conclude this part of the broadcast, and we'll keep your notifications on because we'll be back. We'll definitely be back, and lock in. That's all we can say. Lock in. I'm Dennis Byron. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you soon. I'm out.